In October 1940, in the quiet, sun-soaked town of Key West, Florida, authorities forced their way into the home of a respected radiologist. They were acting on a rumor that the doctor was hiding someone inside his bedroom. In the dark, foul-smelling room, investigators found a figure resting on the bed. It wore a delicate silk dress, expensive, ornate jewelry, and a lifelike wax mask, appearing at first to be a life-size doll. When an officer reached out and touched the figure's arm, the wax cracked. Beneath the plaster and silk was a rotting human corpse, held together by piano wire. Tanzler had been sleeping next to these remains for 7 years. Tanzler genuinely believed the corpse was still alive. His medical authority did not prevent this descent. Instead, his clinical knowledge became the very tool he used to maintain his delusion. In 1930, Carl Tanzler was a 53-year-old radiologist at the Marine Hospital in Key West. He was an eccentric man who claimed to be visited by the ghost of an ancestor. This spirit, he said, had shown him the face of his one true soulmate, a woman Tanzler was destined to find. One afternoon, a 21-year-old local named Elena Hoyos walked into the hospital for an examination. Tanzler recognized her as the face from his ghostly visions. Elena was already married, and more importantly, she was dying of tuberculosis. In 1930, the diagnosis was a guaranteed death sentence. Tanzler ignored the reality of her terminal condition. To him, she was not merely a patient in need of comfort, but a prophesied bride requiring his direct intervention. This image shows the type of X-ray equipment Tanzler illegally brought to Elena's home. He used his credentials to take total control of her care, administering untested chemical elixirs and showering her with gifts. His frantic attempts to cure her failed. Elena Hoyos died on October 25, 1931. Tanzler paid for a massive stone mausoleum in this Key West cemetery. While the grieving family viewed this as a generous act of mourning, Tanzler secretly kept a second key for himself. For 2 years, Tanzler unlocked the stone door every night to sit with Elena's decomposing body. He later wrote that Elena's spirit spoke to him in the dark, begging him to take her home and save her from the tomb. By framing the corpse as a willing participant in its own removal, Tanzler rationalized the transition from a grieving doctor to a grave robber. In April 1933, Tanzler loaded Elena's body into a toy wagon and dragged it through the dark streets of Key West back to his home. He approached her decay as a medical project, utilizing his surgical training to rebuild her form. This diagram shows the internal joint locations where Tanzler used piano wire to bind her separating bones together. As we see in this overlay, Tanzler replaced her decomposed eyes with glass and covered her rotted skin with silk cloth soaked in wax and plaster. To hide the smell of decay, Tanzler used the types of ornate perfume bottles seen here, alongside industrial amounts of preserving agents and disinfectants. Tanzler spent 7 years eating, sleeping, and dancing with this physical avatar of his delusion. Neighborhood rumors eventually reached Elena's sister, Florinda. She forced her way into Tanzler's home and discovered this bridal figure resting on his bed. Police arrested Tanzler and recovered the mutilated remains. The town of Key West erupted in shock as the details of his 7-year domestic life with the body were made public. Psychiatric evaluations in this courtroom concluded that Tanzler was highly intelligent and fully coherent. He was found to be legally sane. Tanzler was released without prison time because the statute of limitations on grave destruction had expired. When Carl Tanzler passed away in 1952, authorities found his dead body next to a life-sized plastic replica of Elena, wearing the same death mask he had fashioned years earlier. Tanzler spent his final days with a plastic image, having refused to release a woman who never returned his feelings in life. He remained devoted to a phantom until his own death.